You were born a Muslim, so do I take it you have no problem saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai?
As an Indian who owes everything to this country, would have no hesitation and would say with pride, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. I believe that worship of a deity, worship of a god is completely different from worshipping your own country.
And you make that distinction over this slogan?
I have completely intellectually made that distinction.
Do Indian citizens have a right to refuse to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai?
I don't think you can force anybody to say anything to do this. I mean, I can't force my children to do anything.
Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. For a number of reasons, the interview the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Najib Jung, gave us yesterday has created headlines and also a huge stir in social media. Mr. Jung's comments about Bharat Mata Ki Jai and anti-nationalism, but also about Chief Minister Kejriwal, the Delhi police and the odd-even scheme were not just candid and forthright, but very different to what you would expect from a man in his position. So tonight we try and assess how Delhi's political parties respond to his outspokenness. Do they support his views and frankness, or do they differ and even criticize him? My guests are BJP National Secretary R.P. Singh, Congress spokesperson Sharmishta Mukherjee, and Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson Ashish Khaitan. Ashish Khaitan, let's start with Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Mr. Jung said he makes a clear distinction between worshipping God and worshipping his country. And he added he has no problem saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Do you believe that this is the right response to Asaduddin Owaisi and Waris Pathan?
Yes, I'd agree with you. This is the right response to all those who objected chanting Bharat Mata Ki Jai on religious grounds, because there is absolutely no conflict between one's faith and one's allegiance to one's nation, and they can be separate ways, distinct ways of expressing one's love for one's nation, and Bharat Mata Ki Jai is only one of them. It alone cannot be the barometer of patriotism or one's commitment to your nation, but certainly it is one of the ways, and certainly there is no conflict.
On the other hand, Mr. R.P. Singh, Mr. Jung also said that every Indian has a right to refuse to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and refusal does not mean the person is anti-national. Isn't that a direct message to some of the hotheads in your party?
No, not hothead within my party. I mean, he's talking about everyone for that regard. And I don't see, anyone can say Bharat Mata Ki Jai or anyone can say Jai Hind for that regard. But saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai should be a matter of pride for every Indian.
But do you agree with Mr. Jung that a man has the right or a woman has the right to refuse to say it, and refusal does not mean you're anti-national? Do you accept that?
I accept that that doesn't mean that it's anti-national, but yes, it shows a person in light what sort of mindset the person is, and especially if he's a political person and with a political background, if says so.
Now, Sharmishta Mukherjee, when I asked Mr. Jung how he responds to politicians who claim that if you don't say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, you have no right to live in India, and how he responds to political parties who claim that refusal to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai is tantamount to disrespect for the Constitution, and in both cases, Mr. Jung said he would ignore them, and then he added these were foolish arguments. Now, although no names were taken, everyone knows that in the first instance, Mr. Jung was clearly referring to Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, and in the second, he was referring to the BJP National Executive's political resolution. How much credit do you give Mr. Jung for being so outspoken?
Well, Mr. Jung has responded in an extremely matured way, and I would also like to add that some people and certain political parties who are actually bringing down nationalism to mere sloganeering, they are doing a great disservice to the whole concept of nationalism. Rather, sloganeering cannot be the litmus test for nationalism. It is your acts rather than shouting slogan which should be taken as a test as your allegiance to the nation. And both, I think, Owaisi and the RSS BJP, they are two sides of the same coin. both want to do divisive politics and
Okay.
centered around sloganeering. They are trying to create an atmosphere of pseudo-nationalism.
Mr. R.K. Singh, before I go on, I want to ask you one specific question. Will you hold Mr. Jung's candor against him, or do you respect his right to be honest and forthright, although he wasn't in any way hurtful and offensive? Because clearly, without naming names, he's fundamentally disagreed with Devendra Fadnavis, and he's fundamentally disagreed with your own party's national executive's political resolution.
See, he has his right to say what he should say, and he didn't speak anything against Devendra Fadnavis. I mean, if you go by your parameter, he spoke against the complete Maharashtra government then, the Maharashtra Assembly itself, in which Congress was also part of it. So let's not get into that. But yes, if you say, I will not say Bharat Mata Ki Jai and say Pakistan Jindabad and Bharat ke tukde honge along with that, but that's objectionable, and that's a reason for hurt. And that's why in that context, Bharat Mata Ki Jai is not merely a sloganism. It's what do you feel, how do you feel about the country, and then that comes as what you say.
Okay. Ashish Kazan, let's move on. Let's come to what Mr. Jung had to say about anti-nationalism. Mr. Jung seemed to disagree with the belief that anti-nationalism is not a crime. He didn't agree with Fali Nariman's view on that. And secondly, he also seemed to suggest that Indians must not cross this moral line. It's a red line that must be observed. Would you agree that on this issue, Mr. Jung was much more of a conservative than a liberal?
Well, Mr. Fali Nariman gave a legal and one can say a constitutional interpretation that there is no such crime as anti-nationalism, which is defined in a statute. But at the same time, I think each of us owe a certain duty to a nation, and there are duties which are defined in the constitution itself, that every right also has a corresponding duty. And I think all of us and the youth of the nation and all those who live on this soil, they owe their duty. And in that regard, I think what Mr. Jung has said makes a lot of sense, that though it may not be a crime, but at the same time it is certainly not tolerable and cannot be accepted that in university, if we refer to the JNU incident, a few of them did chant slogans which were objectionable and can be classified or described as anti-national, and one must also remind that till date they have not been arrested.
Okay.
Those few boys who did raise those slogans have till date not been arrested. We don't know who they were, what was their agenda, who had propped them up, who had brought them in. We still don't know.
But the interesting...
what we did see in the run-up, yeah.
I was saying the interesting
What
thing,
we did see in the run-up
the
to
interesting thing
formation
is
of
here you agree with Mr. Jung, despite the fact that I was saying he's more of a conservative than a liberal. Nonetheless, you agree with him and you agree with the moral stand he's taken. A quick yes, am I right?
Yes, I just said that we all have a duty to a nation, we all have a duty to a society, and we should all respect that thin line that the propriety and the sense of responsibility demands.
Sharmishta Mukherjee, Mr. Jung made a clear distinction between making an anti-national comment in the privacy of your drawing room and making it on a public platform. The second, he said, was unacceptable. Do you accept that distinction?
I don't know what he meant by anti-national comment. Firstly, I don't know what he meant by that, because many a times, yes, we do sit and criticize certain acts of our government. We also criticize our society. We also sometimes, when a horrendous incidents like rape happens, we talk about the patriarchal feudal mindset of a large section of Indian society. Now, criticizing one's society, criticizing one's nation, certain values, I mean, is that anti-national? I don't think so. This is a rightful attitude of positive criticism, because we are all part of the society. So I really don't know exactly what he meant by anti-national comment.
But you're right.
You know, I mean, even I think in the privacy of your drawing room also, I would like to say, if say Pakistan Zindabad, Bharat Murdabad, I would term it as anti-national. But I don't know if in what sense he made it, made that comment.
But you're also saying something else, aren't you, Sharmishta, that if a comment is legitimate in the privacy of your drawing room, such as criticizing the feudalism, then it's also legitimate on a public platform.
Of course, even in the public platform also, as I say, that's why I gave the example of rape. You know, because this is a very common phenomena which is happening, unfortunately, still in our society. And we also criticize not only in the privacy of your drawing room, but also in the public platform.
Sure.
So, can that be taken as anti-national? I don't think so.
RP Singh, in one of his more outspoken comments, Mr. Jung, who is also a former Vice-Chancellor of Jamia Millia Islamia, said that if he had been Vice-Chancellor of JNU in February when the Kanhaiya Kumar development took place, he would have only permitted the police to enter the campus if there was widespread arson. And he also said or suggested that the handling of the situation at JNU reflected the inexperience of the new Chancellor. Would you agree with those comments?
No, I don't agree with this comment on that, but let me just go back to Mr. Khatan's comment that those students have not been arrested. Those who have been arrested were part of the same team. And let me tell you, on 9th of Feb,
I'm only interrupting you because this is not about those students, it's about Mr. Jung. So let's not get sidetracked. I take your point. You corrected Mr. Khaitan, but let's not waste time on that because that's not our discussion. Come back to my question. We're talking about Mr. Jung. Answer that for me.
I'm saying that's why. It is in that context because what happened in JNU was anti-national. It needed the police intervention at all costs, and I disagree with Mr. Jung that only arson. If there is anti-national activity happening, obviously you will have to call the police.
Do you also accept Mr. Jung's claim that this handling reflected the inexperience of the Vice-Chancellor, or do you think that was an unfair point for him to make?
I probably heard the interview right. He never said inexperience. He said he joined new and he probably was not acquainted with the situation at the ground and in the university. But I'm again repeating what happened in JNU was anti-national.
But isn't that inexperience when you say someone has newly joined and is not acquainted with the traditions and practice? Isn't that inexperience?
No, inexperience means when probably you are not aware of the administrative system. But if I join today and like something which happened in NIT on the day it happened, but it can happen today, and if I join today, probably it will take some time for me to take control of the situation. Okay. And in that given circumstances, what Vice Chancellor of JNU did was right.
Also, Ashish Khaitan, there was another point Mr. Jung made, once again speaking as a former Vice-Chancellor. He said he would never punish students for raising slogans praising the West Indies after the West Indies had beaten India in a critical World Cup semi-final. He said he would invite them to dinner, he would try and persuade them, but he would never punish them. And clearly, although no names were taken, no comparisons were made, that was a comment on what's happening at NIT in Srinagar. Do you think it's an apt comment?
I think this particular statement of Mr. Jung deserves appreciation because he is not only an ex-Vice Chancellor, he is also the head of the Delhi Police because Delhi Police reports to LG. So both as an LG and also as an ex-Vice Chancellor, he in a way condemned, disagreed and disapproved of the action that Delhi Police took in the case of JNU because he said that Kanhaiya is a decent folk, his point of view is persuasive, so certainly he didn't see him as a seditionist. And in the case of NIT, he said he disapproves of police action and the entry of the police per se in the university, the college campus. So I think this particular remark deserves special appreciation that and also tantamounts to in a way strong condemnation or at least disapproval of what happened in Delhi in the case of JNU and what Delhi Police did, where Delhi Police acted in a high-handed manner, and in principle he disapproved of what happened in Jammu.
Before I come to Sharmishta Mukherjee, I'm going to point out, Ashish Khaitan, that many people will be saying this is a unique show where on every question I've asked you, the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson has defended, supported and praised the governor. Usually the two of you are clashing with each other.
Well, Aam Aadmi Party is known for calling a spade, and we are highly appreciative of the forthrightness and the candor with which the LG has spoken on some of the seminal issues that you and I are grappling with, and everybody is concerned about.
Sharmishta Mukherjee, when I questioned Mr. Jung about slogans such as Kashmir ki Azadi, he made a point of saying that Kashmir was a special situation. He went on to explain it in terms of special concerns people had about the army presence there, special concerns the Kashmiris had about the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. And to my ears, this was the first time a man in his position was speaking in this way. Did you find that unusual, and do you give him credit for it, or are you a bit perturbed by it?
No, I think Mr. Jung was absolutely candid. You have very rightly pointed out, and it is extremely important to understand the Kashmir issue in its proper perspective, and while not encouraging any kind of seditious behavior of anyone, it is also important to understand the angst of people, of certain section of the society, and if we really want to have a proper solution to this problem, it has to be through dialogue, while maintaining our security, while maintaining our armed forces are doing a fantastic job out there. It's not only we just hear horror stories about that, but we also hear a lot of good stories about what the armed forces are doing. So, for a person like Mr. Jung, who is the constitutional position holder, to come and speak so openly about it and giving his point of view, I think it was a very good thing he did.
RP Singh, when I questioned Mr. Jung specifically about Kanhaiya Kumar and pointed out to him that Kanhaiya Kumar for tens of thousands, maybe more, had become an icon, and I asked him whether he found this understandable or inexplicable, Mr. Jung said it was perfectly understandable. He did then add that he didn't personally admire Kanhaiya Kumar. He felt that sometimes Kanhaiya Kumar gets carried away by his persona and needs to be tempered by his mentors. But he did accept that it was perfectly understandable that Kanhaiya Kumar had become an icon for tens of thousands. Clearly, Kanhaiya Kumar is not an icon for your party. So how do you respond to this particular part of the interview?
He also said that television has made Kanhaiya Kumar a hero. He said he's a telegenic, and also said that he has seen leaders who wither away and come up wither away. So at times you can be icon for certain few 100 or 1,000 people, but that doesn't mean that Kanhaiya Kumar is hero or icon for others other than the Congress, which has recently used him as a mascot in Assam. But let's be clear, and I'm putting it on record, Kanhaiya Kumar, even after being released on bail, he categorically said, the Naxal Shaheed hai. I'm using the word ki Naxal Shaheed hai. So if he treats Naxal as a martyr, God bless him and God bless whoever treats him a hero.
All right, gentlemen, and Sharmishta, we're going to take a break at that point. When I come back, I'm going to switch from the moral, cultural aspects of the interview to the political ones, and I wonder whether Ashish Khaitan will continue to support and applaud the governor, or whether at that point the differences that we know that exist between them will suddenly surface. Join us in a moment's time, because the second part in some ways could well be the more questionable as far as Ashish Khaitan is concerned. See you in a moment's time. You're watching To The Point, and we're discussing the Najib Jung interview, which has made front page headlines in newspapers this morning and created quite a stir on social media. We come now to the political side of the interview. Ashish Khaitan, Mr. Jung gave a very convincing explanation why Shakuntala Gamlin was made acting Chief Secretary in preference to Chief Minister Kejriwal's choice. First, it was only for 10 days. Second, she was the senior most, a lady and from the northeast. And third, Mr. Kejriwal's choice had not even joined the Delhi government at that point, and was also the junior most of the names given to the governor. The governor, for many people, made a very convincing case. How strongly do you disagree?
Well, this is an old subject that we have discussed, I think, ad nauseum on your TV channel and in your show as well. The point, we had our own point of view. Mr. Najib Jung is entitled to have his opinion on the matter. The the subject matter was that the chief minister, the elected chief minister, should have the right to decide who should be chief secretary, or for that matter the acting chief secretary. And it is not right, if you see the file, that the junior most officer or the officer in the corridor was actually nominated by the chief minister. There were other officers who were nominated by the chief minister, and there was a whole list in that order which was sent to LG. And anyway, all these matters are now before the High Court, and we are pretty sure that the court will settle the matter pretty soon.
And you're being very diplomatic in pointing out your disagreement. You're doing it as gently as you can. I want to point that out for the audience. Sharmishta Mukherjee, Mr. Jung said that clashes between the Chief Minister and the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi were inevitable. They were rooted, he said, in the different oaths of office. And he also said that this had been the case since 1992, when the modern Chief Ministership of Delhi came into being. Do you agree with that analysis, that this is a relationship which will inevitably lead to clashes?
Well, Mr. Thapar, we have seen that in the past also there had been points of disagreements between the Chief Minister and the LG. But I don't think ever in the history of Delhi, we have seen this kind of bickerings, this kind of antimony between the Chief Minister and the LG. It has taken, it has touched a new low. One thing, I think both the parties need to realize that on one hand, Delhi has got an elected government. The LG cannot overlook that. On the other hand, the Chief Minister and the Aam Aadmi government should realize that in the administration of Delhi, LG has an important role to play. That is a unique status of Delhi. So they just cannot ignore LG completely. So the mature way of dealing it is through dialogue, is through discussion, is to sort out the differences, rather than getting down into such bitter, acrimonious power tussle.
Okay, I will come back to Ashish Khetan. Don't worry, I'll give you the last word on this particular round. I'll give you the last word. Let me go to Mr. R.P. Singh and I'll come back to you. Mr. R.P. Singh, speaking about the interview that Arvind Kejriwal did, where he either referred to Mr. Jung as a dog or compared him to a dog, Mr. Jung said that the Chief Minister had used naive language, but that he had forgiven the Chief Minister. He also said that although officially the two have a troubled, fraught, quarrelsome relationship, personally they get on quite well, and Arvind Kejriwal has dined with him a few times. What do you make of all of that?
That's the specialty of our democracy. We can fight, we can contest on issues and subjects, but when it comes to individual relationships can be better. But as far as Mr. Kejriwal's language goes, we all know he uses that sort of language quite often for a lot of people. And now that's become probably the vocabulary of the Chief Minister now when he uses such language.
I said I'd come back to you, Ashish Khetan, and I will, and I'll give you a chance to answer this whole subject. But so, I'll begin by pointing this out to you, that Mr. Jung also said that Arvind Kejriwal had never apologized for referring to him or comparing him to a dog. Don't you think that that was a courtesy the Chief Minister owed the governor?
I think both Chief Minister and Mr. Jung share an extremely courteous and I would say a warm relationship, and this we have maintained from day one. And when you pointed out that I have been very gentle in my contestation with Mr. Jung's opinion on the acting Chief Secretary, I would like to point out that from day one we have always maintained that Mr. Jung, or the office of LG, is a mere instrumentation in the hands of the centre to derail the agenda of governance that Aam Aadmi Party has, to put hurdles in our path. And this is our stand even today. Mr. Jung is a mere instrumentality. Mr. Jung doesn't have any personal grudge against us. We don't have any personal issues with Mr. Jung. We all know that this is politics, and the politics is being played out at the behest of centre, at the behest of the PMO and others who want to derail an elected government.
What about my question that Mr. Jung says the Chief Minister's never apologized for calling him or referring to him as a dog, and I asked whether that's a courtesy the Chief Minister owes the governor?
They often meet. I don't remember any such remark made by the Chief Minister. But as I said, they share an extremely cordial relationship, And I really don't think that there is anything bitter that is simmering between the two.
So, Mr. Mukherjee, let's come to what Mr. Jung said about police behavior on the day Kanhaiya Kumar was taken to court. I'm talking specifically about the fact that the police did nothing when thuggish lawyers first attacked Kanhaiya Kumar and then when the same lawyers attacked some members of the press. Now, when I questioned Mr. Jung about that, to begin with, he clearly seemed to take the police's side. He even at one point said he wouldn't punish them. That was the first half of the answers from him. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that day we saw a complete breakdown of law and order. In the court, either some hooligans, and I'm sorry to say, including elected member of the Delhi Legislative Assembly, was also seen, hitting, beating up Kanhaiya. And this is, you just can't do this. You don't expect this kind of thing to happen in a civilized society. And the police was absolutely a mute witness.
So can I interrupt there? Can I interrupt and ask that when Mr. Jung appeared to take the police's side and when he appeared to suggest he wouldn't punish them, do you think he was making a mistake? And this is the first half of his answers, I'm pointing that out.
Well, I think Mr. Jung should be, as the also person responsible for the police, he should seriously look into the police action of that day. And instead of trying to protect them, if he really wants to restore the faith of people of Delhi in police, he should take some stern action against those people who are involved in not doing anything, in not stopping those hooligans from beating up Kanhaiya.
To be fair, Mr. R.P. Singh, when I pursued the matter with Mr. Jung, he did go on to say that the police were conducting a post-mortem on how they had handled the occasion, and if necessary, depending on the outcome of that post-mortem, action would be taken. He also said that the outcome of the post-mortem would be made public. Now the question is this, at the end of the day, the police come not under Mr. Jung, but actually under the MHA. He acts on behalf of the MHA. Will the central government permit such transparency, or will you intervene and stop Mr. Jung fulfilling what he said to me?
Before I give you answer on that, I need to make two corrections. What Mr. Khaitan said, that he is the instrument in the hand of the center, no. He guards the constitution as per the requirement of the president and as per the requirement of the country, as per requirement of the country. And as far as Mr. Congress spokesperson said something about MLA beating someone in the court, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, and what she's referring to. Probably she is not gone through that thoroughly. And thirdly, I'm also for it that yes, whatever happens should happen transparently, and if someone is guilty, someone has done something wrong, should be punished. But I still remember, if you remember, there was a case in Tisajari where police did lathi charge and there's a strike, lightning strike by the lawyers countrywide, and Kiran Bedi had to face a wrath for that. So probably, I don't know, he referred to something like that, but yes, if someone is guilty, he need to be punished.
That was an incident you referred to, if I recall correctly, that happened in the late 70s. The world has changed a lot since then. But you are saying to me that, in fact, the transparency that Mr. Jung promised when he said that post-mortem would be made public will be fulfilled. The central government, you're assuring me, will not stop it. Is that right?
I'm going further. I'm saying that not only transparency, if someone is guilty, he should be punished.
All right, that's very reassuring. Ashish Khaitan, let's now come to the odd-even scheme. It begins in just a couple of days' time on Friday. Mr. Jung made it clear that in January, the scheme had no impact on pollution. He said that twice, but he did concede it had an impact on congestion. Secondly, he also said that running the scheme ad infinitum would be the wrong thing to do, A, because it would put an impossible strain on the police, and B, because it would create security concerns for the metro. How do you respond to that?
Well, we disagree with him. The people of Delhi have voted in this kind of referendum or an opinion poll that we conducted with regard to odd-even scheme, and everybody wanted odd-even scheme back. And it is also scientifically proven, and I think it's a no-brainer that lesser the number of cars on the road, lesser pollution and vehicular emissions. And there were several reports, there were reports from EPCA which were submitted before the Supreme Court also, which pointed out that the pollution did come down and the peak pollution had plummeted. So on this point we would tend to disagree with Mr. Najib Jung. At the same time, again I would like to point out that this is the farthest that you can expect Mr. Najib Jung to go. If you expect really, Karan, that Mr. Najib Jung is going to set the house in order as far as the Delhi police go, and Mr. Najib Jung is going to punish the culprits in Delhi police for the beating of Kanhaiya Kumar in court premises, for the beating up of the media persons in court premises, then I think we are living in some la la land. That is not going to happen. Mr. Najib Jung also at the same time has to prolong his continuation in office. We should all also appreciate that.
At long last, I am beginning to sense not just disagreement with Mr. Jung's views, but a hint of sarcasm, maybe even more than a hint of sarcasm. When you say if Mr. Jung is going to elongate and prolong his stint in office, then we should appreciate his predicament. In other words, you're saying, poor Mr. Jung, regardless of what he thinks, he can't act because his job could be on the line. I'm decoding you, but that's what you're saying. Mr. Jung will put his personal interests ahead of his principles. I'm putting it crudely now.
Yes, exactly. I mean, as I said, he deserves accolades for what he said on the issue of Bharat Mata Ki Jai and the pseudo-nationalism that the BJP and RSS have been practicing of late. He deserves appreciation for that, speaking up, because, and I disagree with RP Singh, the governors appointed neither by the BJP or by UPA were sentinels of constitution. They have been brokers of power, which we saw in the case of Arunachal Pradesh, and earlier we saw in the case of Congress as well, when elected governments were derailed.
Let's come back to Mr. Jung in the interview.
Operation Kamal was carried out.
Let's come back to Mr. Jung in the interview. Mr. RP Singh, I want to come back, in fact, to the things Mr. Jung said about odd even. One of the things that will worry people, and Mr. Jung said it twice, is that speeding up the metro trains could actually create a security risk. And he said that twice. And therefore, it follows that Arvind Kejriwal, each time he brings back the odd-even scheme, and he's now possibly considering bringing it back every month for 15 days, is consciously running that risk. And what is perplexing is, so far, the central government hasn't said a word about that risk. Why are you silent?
No, let's be clear on one thing. It's the local government which should take a call. But as for Mr. Khetan's issue of saying that the pollution level has gone down, I'm sorry, he should go by the data. If you want, I will send him the data of the Central Pollution Board. The pollution level has not gone down. Yes, it affected the traffic on the road. Obviously, when you take out the 50% of the car, it will affect the traffic on the road. But the major concern, which action they could have taken in between last few months, was they could have added more buses, which Mr. Jung also reflected on. That will levy less load on the metro. They could have taken strict action against the polluting industry in Delhi. They could have taken strict action against the two-wheelers and other...
But you've avoided my question, sir.
Allow me to complete, sir. Allow me to complete.
But you've avoided my question about the security risk for the metro, which is a matter of great concern.
It's a concern. That's what I'm saying, a concern. But for that, Delhi local government has to be aware of. And also, they are probably aware they want to take that chance. That's what I think. They should have added more buses, and not a single bus is added. And also, there are options. Give me a minute, Karan, please. There are options also. I'm suggesting here on your channel, I've suggested to Mr. Kejriwal earlier also, that instead of odd even, go for single one-way route for 50 roads in Delhi. If you make one way for 50 roads, pollution level will come down, even the traffic will be better.
Okay, but this is not actually about how pollution can be tackled. This discussion is about the points Mr. Jung made specifically. And I want to go back to Ashish Khetan. Sadly, we've lost the line to Mr. Mukherjee. Hope it will come back in a moment's time. On the one hand, Mr. Jung manfully said he didn't have the guts and the courage to go for odd even when he ran the city for 1 year during President's rule. On the other hand, he also conceded the minister's prerogative, and he wouldn't criticize the chief minister for repeating it. But the worrying thing is, and he said this twice, is that the effort to speed up the metro could have security concerns and issues. Doesn't that worry you? Because that could be a potential disaster.
Honestly, Karan, this is something new, absolutely new, which Mr. Jung has thrown in the ring, because you would know the Delhi Metro is run by professionals. It's a corporation. Delhi government has a 50% stake and the center has a 50% stake. It is run by thoroughbred professionals, engineers, and they would not do anything which would put either metro or the passengers at risk. I don't know where it is coming from. Will certainly the transport minister and the Delhi government will certainly have a word with Mr. Jung and will allay his fears.
Okay, that's very reassuring. You will speak to Mr. Jung, your minister will speak to Mr. Jung, and you will allay these fears. That's an assurance you're giving me.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's come in the limited...
I think there is a gap of information here.
All right. Let's come in the limited time left to the last issue, which is the potential fate of those 21 Aam Aadmi Party MLAs who were made parliamentary secretaries and could be disqualified on grounds that a parliamentary secretaryship is an office of profit. RP Singh, Mr. Jung made it clear that their fate depends entirely on the central government accepting the bill that Mr. Kejriwal had moved in June last year to regularize their position. Will the central government, which your party controls, accept that bill and regularize their position and save those 21 MLAs? Or because Mr. Kejriwal is your opponent and he goes for your jugular as often as he can, are you determined to make sure those MLAs are disqualified?
How can centre be above law? You remember Mrs. Sonia Gandhi quitted her post and went for a recontest for the member as a member parliament. And let's be clear, this is post facto. I mean, he decided in May, he passed a bill in June. I don't know what sort of constitutional validity that bill has. So
on that point, can I interrupt and say he did definitely delay the bill 1 month after creating the secretaries, but the bill is retrospective. So that delay would be taken care of if you accept the bill.
I'm just wondering, does it have a constitutional validity or not? That the constitutional expert will have to tell. I mean, I'm not an expert on constitutional validity of the bill, because if I do something in May and I want it to be rectified in June, I pass a bill later on, and that too, whether it was done through a proper process or not, I am not aware of it. But as I know, you can't have more than one parliamentary secretary in Delhi, and if there is one, then it comes under office of profit. And I am quoting you an instance where Mrs. Sonia Gandhi quitted her member parliament.
In fact, if I understand the GNCTD Act correctly, even that one parliamentary secretary is deemed to be an office of profit. It's not that more than one becomes office of profit, even that one is. But I'm going to go back to Ashish Khaitan. Ashish Khaitan, the one point that Mr. Jung twice agreed with is that Arvind Kejriwal took a potential risk in creating 21 parliamentary secretaries, and that risk turns over whether the bill he's passed to regularize their position gets accepted by the central government or not. And the central government is perhaps your worst possible opponent, a relationship made worse by the frequent clashes that Mr. Kejriwal has had with Mr. Modi. So now, do you think, with hindsight, Arvind Kejriwal took too big a risk? He could end up losing 21 MLAs.
Well, Mr. Thapar, we want to run this city to the best of our ability, and we want to give good governance. We want to fix the basic issues of health, education, water, sanitation, and so on. Those parliamentary secretaries were created towards this end, to help the departments concerned, to help and bolster each of these departments, and to act as a bridge between the executive and the legislature. Now, if the centre again plays spoil sport and somehow rejects this bill, then their agenda would be completely exposed, that they are absolutely committed towards sabotaging an elected government. They cannot tolerate a party, any other party in power. They did this in Arunachal, they are doing this in Uttarakhand, they are doing in Himachal, and if they do this in Delhi, then I think it's the government of Modi which would stand exposed. And as far as the constitution goes, the constitution and law and the several Supreme Court judgments are on our side. And it's very clear that the parliamentary secretary, the kind of post that we have created, does not come under the ambit of office of profit.
Well, there is a case in the Delhi High Court, and at the end of the day, the legal matter will be decided by the Delhi High Court. So neither you nor I can pronounce. The Delhi High Court will give its answer. But very, very quickly, Mr. RP Singh, we have only 15 seconds, so please give me a short answer. So the paradox is this. The paradox is this, that even if Arvind Kejriwal loses 21 MLAs, he will still have 46, which is 65% of the House. So he still has a huge majority after losing 21. That's the paradox, isn't it?
Constitution is above politics. But Mr. Kejriwal, to keep his flock together, he also knew that he has to keep his flock together. And that's why he gave those seats to 21 MLAs as state equivalent to state ministers, and all those facilities which are not provided under law, including offices and cars and whatever best he could have provided to keep the flock together. And if I rightly remember, out of 67, probably 53 MLAs have been granted some post or other to keep them together as a flock.
All right, gentlemen, I'm afraid we've run out of time. My apologies. We lost Sharmishta Mukherjee. The line broke and we weren't able to get it back. My apologies to her. But my thanks to Ashish Khaitan and RP Singh. And of course, if you have been watching, my thanks to you as well. Goodbye. Good night.
And this pertains to the ban on fireworks during all festivities in the state of Kerala. Remember, it is also a poll issue now. In an update to the Kerala fire, Justice Chidambaresh